Living life in partial or total darkness. According to the World Health Organization, approximately 253 million people globally are vision impaired or are totally blind. Today on TechKnow, some of the latest innovations making it easier to help people with sight problems navigate our complex world.
If you wanted to grab a basket to shop, they're just slightly on the left side.
And even enjoy art again through a gentle touch.
I think there's so many people that I've met that would really appreciate this.
And later, as populations age and impairments become more prevalent, a new study to determine what technology is needed in the future to ensure that people can live independently at home, safer and happier.
We really need to figure out ways to better help people as they age, as they develop various chronic conditions, and do it in a way that optimizes their quality of life.
A scientific look into the crystal ball of aging. This is TechKnow, a show about innovations that can change lives. We're going to explore the intersection of hardware and humanity, and we're doing it in a unique way. This is a show about science by scientists. New York City, an intersection similar to many around the world. City streets, often a confusing maze of speeding vehicles, near-moving masses of people who are simultaneously navigating sidewalks, traffic lights, crosswalks, and construction sites. Challenging for most people, but the complexity of this intersection increases dramatically for those with limited visibility or for those who are blind. TechKnow's Dr. Crystal Dilworth reports.
Navigating a major metropolitan city is difficult no matter who you are, but the visually impaired find it especially difficult. Now, new technologies are being developed that can help even the playing field.
Technology is really, really useful. At the same time, it's not like technology is just doing everything for me. You know, it's helping me to do things myself.
28-year-old Lindsay Yazzolino of Boston, Massachusetts, visits New York City often. Blind since birth, years of training enable her to navigate these busy streets.
I'm using a cane, and it's essentially a glorified, stick, but it does its job very well. And new technology, it doesn't need to replace things, but it can certainly enhance what I'm able to do.
23rd Street and 7th Avenue is a New York City Department of Transportation pilot intersection for new technology. In 2011, the city installed the first APS, or Accessible Pedestrian Signal, here. Today, of the 12,460 intersections controlled by traffic lights in New York City, 209 now have APS, and the number increases by 75 each year.
The beeping boxes are helpful, especially when you have an intersection that's a little more dicey. It tells me that, okay, the light did just change, so I should go now, as long as it sounds safe.
These devices, while improving the safety aspect of crossing streets, are currently in need of an innovative update.
New York City discovered that after they had installed these devices, that people were still having difficulty crossing the street because of the increased complexity with the introduction of dedicated bike and bus lanes. So they came up with the idea of actually adding a map to the sign.
In this intersection, a printed tactile diagram is being tested with the Accessible Pedestrian Signal.
Recently, some new innovations in printing have made it possible to create very low-cost tactile graphic and braille signs that are durable enough to put outside.
Lindsay demonstrates the tactile map to passerby George Ashiotis, who's also blind.
So if you feel the braille at the very top, it says West 23rd Street, so that's the street that would be crossing. This line is showing the direction of travel. These arrows show lanes of traffic. So you have three lanes of traffic where the cars are going, from your left to your right.
There's a Y up here in braille.
You are here. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. Now you know what to expect of me across the street.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Steve Landau says this is the first step in making traffic signals more interactive. Future generations of signs, he says, will actually have a verbal function.
And it'll say car or bus or crosswalk. So by adding speech, by adding an interactive aspect to this, we can really make them universally accessible.
I think the most exciting potential is technology that takes into account the skills that a person already has and then fills in the gaps. And also to do different kinds of things that maybe aren't as easy for me to do now.
Lex Gillette agrees. Blind since age 8, today at 33, he's a U.S. Paralympic athletic champion who currently holds the long jump world record. While his athletic abilities put him at the top of his sport, some complex and even common tasks sighted people take for granted often challenge him. We met Lex at a supermarket in Ocean Beach, California.
How difficult is it for you to navigate what someone like me would take for granted as a mundane task like grocery shopping?
I think it's one of those things where a lot of times your stores will have a customer service area, so I would go to that desk. That would require me to have a specific list of items, and there are those times where you want to learn more about the product. You want to learn what types of ingredients are in them, and maybe you want to make a better selection. I'm an athlete, so a lot of times I'm very particular about what goes into my body.
Recently, Lex sidestepped the help desk for something decidedly more high-tech. Today, he's shopping with Aira.
Hi, Lex. Thanks for calling Aira. This is Erin.
I am actually at the grocery store and am interested in picking up a couple things.
What are you looking for today?
You know what? I am interested in getting some lettuce and tomatoes and cucumbers for a salad.
Alrighty, so if you don't mind scanning your head around so I can take a peek. Okay, so the cash registers are to the left. Let's see where the produce is. If you'll scan, alrighty, I see the produce market is to the right-hand side.
Lex is not shopping alone. He's connected in real time to an agent assistant who could be hundreds of miles away from him, but is viewing exactly where he is. Erin Cater is the manager of agent operations.
What does it mean to be an Aira agent?
It means that we get to assist the blind with their day-to-day tasks and give them more independence and freedom. So us as sighted folks kind of take for granted just jumping in the car and running to the grocery store to pick up a simple item and getting back home. Now with the use of Aira, they can really incorporate that and just jump on public transportation or an Uber and run to the grocery store without sighted assistance.
It's two humans, one out there in the world, one person sitting in front of a computer, connected through technology and acting as an individual to do a task or to do an activity or experience something beautiful.
Here's how the system works. Smart glasses with a built-in camera is paired with an app on the user's phone. When they want assistance, they press a button and via cellular service they're connected to an agent. Those currently using this technology are called explorers.
The agent sees the video in real time, streaming from the glasses that the explorer is wearing, their GPS location, and a full profile on the user.
Back in the supermarket, Lex is navigating the produce area.
There's a gentleman with a cart. He's stocking the bananas. He just paused though, so if you wanted to step forward here, the cart is going to be here on the right, and then we're directly in front of the produce case. So I see peppers, potatoes, and I see what I believe are cucumbers. If you wanted to extend a hand, you'll feel, let's see, there will be potatoes on the top, and then the second row down will be cucumbers. So I can't see your hand in the camera. If you don't mind tilting your chin to your chest slightly, so the video drops down. Yeah, okay, perfect. You've got a cucumber in your hand.
We teach them like how to tuck their chin to their chest, which is not, it's a kind of an awkward movement for someone who doesn't have vision, is to look down to the floor and look up to the ceiling. So then you really build that rapport and that teamwork.
That's so interesting that those movements I would take for granted because that's how I explore my space wouldn't really be necessary.
Yeah, it's interesting because when you say look down, like to them, they're like, well, I am looking down. But if you say tuck your chin to your chest, that gives it more, that little bit more of description really tells them exactly how far to look down.
If you'll tuck your chin slightly down, go down one row. Yep, and that's the Caesar Supreme that your finger's touching.
Cool.
So it's got the croutons, the dressing in there, and the Parmesan cheese as well.
Okay, that's perfect.
Yeah, awesome. Are you still interested in a tomato?
Please, yes.
Okay, let's take a peek around. So typically tomatoes aren't refrigerated. So if you want to do a full turn around, a 180. Okay, so I don't see any tomatoes here. And on the other side were onions. So let's head towards the right-hand side.
Okay.
And if you'll pause here and scan your head. Okay, great. I see tomatoes on the aisle that's on your left-hand side. So if you were to move forward a couple of steps, they're actually at the very end of this case here. The tomatoes are on your right-hand side. So, now they're on the left-hand side.
So go down this way?
So pause here. And I believe if you want to extend your hand now directly in front of you, these are either apples or tomatoes.
Okay. Yeah, this feels like a tomato.
Okay, and if you'll just tuck your chin slightly, yep, that sure is a tomato. So it's a red, ripe tomato. I don't see any dents or wilts or holes in it.
While grocery shopping is just one small task in Lex's life, he uses this technology for more complex situations, like traveling through airports or visiting major cities for the first time.
For me, there are those times where you want to have that specific information. You want as many details as possible. And so, for example, I went to Vegas, so I was like, you know what? I want to go out. I want to hit the streets of Vegas. Let's see what's happening. And I called up Aira, and they were able to navigate me around. I'm walking around on the strip. It was just an amazing experience because I just felt really empowered, and I hadn't done anything like that before.
We do have low thousands of people who are using the service, explorers. We want to get Aira pretty much into the hands of every blind person in the world.
A grand task, since there is a cost to using this technology.
The subscription ranges from $89 a month all the way till $329 a month. Now on the higher end, $329, it's unlimited use of service. The glasses are for free. The data is free. They don't pay for the data or incur the cell phone usage. And we also include insurance associated with the glasses.
So there's daisies, some purple flowers, and 3 sunflowers in here, and a couple of red flowers as well. It could be roses. I'm not sure if they're red roses.
Okay.
Alrighty, so if you want to move to the checkout line, we'll maneuver around this flower stand. So you'll walk forward a few steps and then turn to the left.
Okay.
You're welcome. Did you find everything okay today?
I did. It was perfect. We're exploring new terrain, new environments, everything that I have not seen in a sense. So that exploration process is amazing, and I'm glad that we have that technology available to us.
This is a boon for blind people right now in technology. There is so much going on to help people. It's phenomenal. It's way better than when I was younger.
Meet art lover Dennis Perrone. Since becoming blind later in life, he gave up visiting museums, until today.
A neuroscientist famously proposed that there were 9 ways that our brains help us to appreciate visual art. But how do you appreciate a painting that you can't see? The answer might be here at the San Diego Museum of Art, where they're taking an innovative approach to making art accessible to the visually impaired.
Dennis is here to experience a masterpiece especially designed for the visually impaired. Museum Associate Curator Michael Brown describes the original.
We're standing in front of Juan Sanchez Coton's masterpiece, still life with quince, cabbage, cucumber, and melon. It was painted in 1602 in Toledo, in Spain, and it is a groundbreaking example of still life painting at the very earliest decade of the 17th century.
What makes it so special?
This painting was a really pioneering depiction of a three-dimensional illusion. So he's using, in 2 dimensions, he is creating an imaginary tactile experience.
Do you think it's possible to give that same impression to someone that's not able to visually see this painting?
Absolutely, because I think that that one of the ways that we interact best with the public and of all different abilities is telling stories. And the stories help to bring works of art to life. And although we can't touch this painting itself, we can touch the replica and, filled with those stories, understand it.
In 2014, we had this made so that people who can't see this painting can still experience it.
So tell me how this replica is different from the real thing.
So first of all, you can touch it, right? And when you look at the real thing, you're going to want to touch it.
Which is exactly what Dennis Perrone did for the first time today.
This quince is a smooth, round fruit like an apple, golden in color. It hangs from a length of twine. Find 2 leaves and a stem at the top of the quince. Notice also a small blemish on the lower right-hand side of the fruit. The painter wanted to show the quince exactly as it appeared to him, including its imperfections.
I definitely can feel that imperfection. It's interesting.
The melon rests on the windowsill, near the middle of the painting. The rough exterior skin of the melon wraps around the lower portion. Someone has removed several slices of the fruit, and one of these slices can be found sitting on the windowsill immediately to the right. The melon wedge, positioned at the front edge of the sill, has been sliced from the melon to its left. Notice the rough texture of the rind in a small region on the right side of the wedge. Directly to the left, the cucumber.
Wow, I went past it.
Does the repetition help?
Directly to the left, someone has sliced
Repetition,
the
yes,
flesh
it does, but I'm still, this one's, you know, it's a new experience. See, now there's a rough thing here, and I don't know what that's representing. You know where my finger is?
I think what you're touching is that it's rough in this model, but in real life it would be very soft. It's that sort of pulpy connection between the fruit and the seeds.
See, okay, that's where I'm having that difficulty.
The second time you explored the painting, you were starting to add sort of layers to the experience after you'd gone through the entire thing once. Do you think that the same is true for tactile models of paintings in general? Would more experiences help?
That's a good question. That could be. It's the first time I've done anything like this. And I was trying to block out the narration so that I was actually experiencing myself. It actually did get better, that's for sure.
But how important is it for these efforts to be made, for art galleries to be creating things like this for people like you?
I think it's crucial. I think there's so many people that I've met that would really appreciate this.
These are just a few of the accessibility technologies currently in use. And as our populations age, more innovation is needed to meet the demands of people who become impaired as they get older. We pick up that part of the story in Portland, Oregon.
A major study called CART, Collaborative Aging Research Using Technology from the National Institutes of Health, is currently underway to assess accessibility strategies for senior citizens so they can extend their ability to live independently. As part of the study, over 200 senior citizen households across the United States are wired with activity trackers. We'll start at the home of Beverly Healy. Okay, Beverly, so we're in your home, and you're wired up here with a lot of sensors. Tell me what we have.
Well, as we come in the door, there's a sensor on the door, which simply means the door's been opened, and it's assumed that somebody's coming or going.
82-year-old Beverly Healy is a volunteer test subject in a study looking at what happens in the home as we age and what accessibility strategies can be created in the future to remain independent for longer. Her home has over 20 sensors monitoring her every move. Dr. Jeffrey Kay of Oregon Health and Science University is the principal investigator of the study.
If you ask people what they want to have happen to them as they get older, 90%, 99% will say, I want to stay in my home or where I want to be as I get older, On the other hand, of course, people say that because they fear going to a nursing home, they fear developing Alzheimer's disease, which is actually now the most feared condition in America.
Wow.
So we really need to figure out ways to better help people as they age, as they develop various chronic conditions.
So in the ceiling going down the hall, you'll see a series of motion detectors that say how fast I'm walking. This is my usual gait, and if that should slow appreciably, they would notice that, and they'd say something's wrong. Beverly's not moving as fast as she usually does. She's lost her energy. What's happening?
We are integrating multiple types of data that comes in 24/7 that reflects real day-to-day function across the main things that make a difference in people's lives. So what we're able to measure or monitor with the technologies are things like mobility, sleep, cognitive function.
So in here is my pill box, which is monitored by the modem on my computer. And when I open it up in the morning or in the evening to take my pills, that registers on the computer.
So you've got pills for every day of the week here.
Yes.
And it's just getting a sense of whether or not you open that.
Yes.
Not necessarily if you took it, I guess.
But no, there's no way they could know that. But they can know that I've come to the pill box, I've opened it up, and ostensibly I've taken the pills out and swallowed them.
Thomas Riley is an information technology systems architect at Oregon Health and Science University.
I develop the software and work on our servers that collects the data from the sensors and brings it back and stores it.
Now, can you show me some of the information that you're getting?
Sure, so right here we have a display from our database. So this is the sensor identifier, and this is the timestamp. And here you can see she's not present in that room.
So the 30 says not present.
30 says not present, and so right here at this timestamp, she becomes present in the room. She's present in the room for 10 seconds, and then she comes back in 3 seconds later. It's present for another 10 seconds. So this is just one sensor.
In medicine, change is everything. And most change we detect is by self-report. You go to a doctor's office, and what does the doctor do? They will ask you a series of questions. Did you take your medications? Are you exercising? How are you sleeping? And we all do our best to try to understand that, but it's very hard. And we know from our own studies that people actually are rather inaccurate, in fact, in how they are able to report. With the data that we get, we're able to get the actual data, and then you can imagine going forward that if you were to come to a doctor's office, imagine that instead of asking you all these questions, not only just were known, but it's the real information, it's the actual events that are happening. And then the appointment would be spent more in providing care and counseling as opposed to questioning.
Where do you see some of the innovations? What's on the horizon in terms of accessibility for the elderly and senior citizens?
There will be a natural shift to more comfort in just having technology around and using it. Voice recognition continues to advance quite rapidly. So the interface for how you conduct interviews, how you interact with technology in general is very rapidly changing.
The data they're collecting is helpful as it's grouped with data they're collecting from other people just like me who are also contributing to the program. And that somewhere years from now or months from now, the data that they're collecting and assimilating will create a pattern of aging for people who are 20 years younger than I am. I feel happy about it.
That's it for now. I'm Dr. Shanice O'Mara. See you next time on TechKnow.